man, if people were just curious, if they just opened up their ears too, more than their mouths, and just started listening to what was around them, they'd realize that like, wait, actually I have a whole lot more in common with my environment and I'm way less alone.
If you could change one thing in the world right now, what would that be?
I would make it mandatory for people to be curious. If people had to be curious, they would open up their minds to other possibilities. And what they would find is that there is a lot of connection that can be created beyond the box that you're within. This is where ignorance plays a major part. There's so much discrimination and stereotyping and racism. I think it's ridiculous. How can you think that you're better than somebody because of the color of your skin? Right? There's people that still feel that way. And it blows my mind, but that's the thing, is if those individuals just had a spark of curiosity. What if I have something in common with them? We all naturally are attracted to people that we relate to. And a lot of us don't realize it, but we don't possess the mental fortitude or the depth to go deep past like what we see. But when you start to realize that you can connect with people that don't have any of those things in common, because we're not as far apart as we realize as humans. We all are happy. We all feel sadness. We all feel depression. We all feel anxiety. And so, man, if people were just curious, if they just opened up their ears too, more than their mouths, and just started listening to what was around them, they'd realize that like, wait, actually I have a whole lot more in common with my environment and I'm way less alone. Welcome everyone to the Beyond the Cover podcast. My intent with creating this podcast was to provide a platform where men can speak openly about their journeys with mental health without fear of judgment while doing so. While I, the host, or you, the listener, may not agree with everything or anything that a certain guest says for that matter, my focus is not to decipher what is right or wrong. Rather, it's to gain a better understanding of why somebody thinks and acts the way that they do. And with this understanding, we will begin to make better sense of our own lives and the world around us. So join me as we open the books into these men's journeys and dissect the pages within. All right, you take a seat. This won't be the last time we do this.
This was the first time, actually. No one knows that, but the first podcast you did was with me.
Was with you. I wish we would have had the cameras recording because, dude, your story is incredible. And we're going to have it told on here. Shoot, if not soon, I mean, why not?
Definitely.
Whenever the timing is right. But for those that don't know, the magician behind all of this is AD. AD is a mastermind with editing, with filming, and with so much more. Again, we'll save a lot of that for the podcast, but this man has patents, to say the least. He is an absolute genius. And today, AD is going to be asking me the questions that you all have asked me on my social media. So we're going to basically run this starting now, 30 minutes, and we're just going to go through as many as we can because I know we have a lot. And the goal of this today is really for you all to just get to know me on a more personal level. I'm going to not hold back, just fire off, and it should be fun. So these are all questions from people on my Instagram. So
let's dive right in.
So AD, be the people.
Alrighty. The first question. Are you seeing someone?
No. As of right now, I don't know when this will release, but as of right now, I am not seeing anybody. I'm just working on myself. I feel that in order for me to attract the individual that I want to be with, I have to be better myself. So right now, I'm a single Pringle is what they call it, I think.
Good answer. Do you like to fish, like the outdoors?
I love the outdoors. Yeah, I like to hike, bike, snowboarding is one of my favorite hobbies. I will fish. My brother likes to fish, so I'll go out with him on the boat when we're back in Lake St. Louis. That's just to spend time with him, though. I actually don't like taking fish off the hook, and I usually will like carry the fish over to him because they spike me. I don't know. Have you ever fished?
No.
Dude, they spike you with their fins, and so you're supposed to grab hard, but I don't want to crush them. So then they spike you, and it kind of hurts. So I will admit that I think I've taken one fish off the hook my entire life, and yeah, that's why I mainly don't fish. I don't like taking them off.
Do you have trouble trusting women since your court case?
I have trouble trusting people, not so much women from the court hearing specifically, although I would say that I'm having trust issues from just I guess it's stemming from partly that. It's also stemming from me feeling that I was taken advantage of multiple times in my life. Like since I've come off TV, where people just want to be around me to ride my coattails or, see if they can get the backstage passes. So they claim to be friends, but they're just looking for a fun experience. So it's been a culmination of those experiences with people taking advantage of my friendliness, plus, this individual taking advantage of me, trying to force a relationship that, overall now I feel that I have to hold myself to a higher standard. If I'm going to vibrate at a higher frequency and expect myself to be in the same room as people that also, vibrate at a higher level, that are super successful, that are really positive, energy attracts energy. And I can't be walking into a room with individuals that have more figured out than me, and then bring in my negative aura into that room. It's only going to basically repel me out of that situation. So I found that out recently, where I have high value individuals that are kind of seeing what I get wrapped up in.
Yeah.
And I think they're like, hey, I need to be careful with getting too close to this individual. He may happen to pull me in. So definitely I'm more cautious of who I let into my circle now. I have a little bit of trust issues.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep. What is your teeth cleaning routine?
I get this one a lot because I do have very white teeth, but I hate to break it to people. No matter how much you brush your teeth, these teeth are not naturally created. This was through 2 whitenings. I got my teeth whitened on 2 separate occasions. Once before I went on The Bachelor, and then afterwards I did a partnership. I got them bleached, which hurt really bad, actually. They do say that it can be some sensitivity, and it does hurt. Was it worth it? I think so, because, man, your smile is really what you lead with when you meet somebody. It's like you have that ability to make a great impression. So I had some teeth sensitivity for a day or so, where it felt like this sharp pain. But no, I will say, though, for my routine, I brush and floss and water pick after every meal. So the second I finish eating a meal, I go to the bathroom and I brush right away, so there's no plaque buildup. I drink coffee through it with a straw, so that I don't get any of that coffee staining on my teeth itself. So and I don't really drink wine. So anything that would stain your teeth, I stay away from, or I use like a straw, so that instead of hitting my teeth, it goes just to the back of my throat.
Directly. Got it.
There you go. That's the routine.
Nice. What scares you the most? What keeps you up at night?
I'm going to go with the first thing that enters my mind. And mediocrity was the first word that popped up. I just don't want to be average, because to me, average is normal, and normal to me is boring. I talked about this more in detail in a previous podcast, but I want life to be exciting. I want life to be challenging. I want to, push the boundaries of what I think is possible, and see how far I can take it at the end of my life. Again, knowing that there's periods of your life where you should push harder and periods where you should slow down and enjoy the moment. But I'm only 31, man. And if I were to just say, okay, I've got it all figured out at 31 years old, well, how boring of a life would that be, to live until 75, 80 years old and not progress? I want to try to take this experience of mine as far as I can and open my mind up to as many things as possible. And, look back at it all and say, man, I don't have a single regret. I hear people that get to the end of their life, I talk to the elderly, and they say, I wish I would have cared less what people thought. I wish I would have, taken more risks. And that's pretty universal when you ask someone that's elderly. I mean, those answers come up a lot. I don't want to be one of those people. So, stagnation or complacency, these are all mediocrity. I kind of group them all together. That's what keeps me up at night is, did I progress today? And if the answer is no, I get a sense of anxiety. I always want to feel like I'm progressing.
Wow, that is good. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, man. So I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't even have a 6-month plan. Maybe I might have a 6-month plan. I wouldn't say I go farther out than 6 months, because my life switches up too much. And again, just came back from a pretty exciting opportunity. Can't say too much, but people may see me on their screens here again soon. So and that came about, maybe a month before, in advance. And then I decided to take the leap. So my life shifts so much. I can't look out past 6 months. And I do that also on purpose because I want to really focus on the present. I don't want to be thinking too much about the future because it pulls me out of the present. If I start thinking about where do I want to be 5 years from now? So again, with too much change, I don't go that far outside of it all. I will say that would put me at 36 years old. I would like to have a significant other at that point. Definitely a significant other. And probably at that point too, I'd say I'd like to be married and potentially have a child. I think if I can find somebody, if it's, again, it's all on the timing of the universe, timing of God, whatever you believe in. I would like to find someone in the next year or two. I just made a really major decision in my life to start dating with intention and only with the serious intention of being with someone for the long run. I just made that decision yesterday. That I'm like, I'm no longer playing this casual game of dating. I'm going to, be serious. So with that, if I hold this and follow that, I would say hopefully I find someone in the next year or two and travel for a couple of years and enjoy life and then settle down and start a family.
That's good.
That's the 5 year.
That's perfect. Do you regret going to The Bachelors?
I do not regret going on The Bachelor one bit. That show was the catalyst for all of the growth and authenticity that I now possess today. Had I not went on The Bachelor, I would still be in Columbia, Missouri, still living a facade, basically trying to be accepted in the eyes of the surgeons that I worked with, of the people that I surrounded myself with. And that version of me wasn't a version of myself that I loved. It wasn't authentic. It was what I felt needed to exist in order to pay the bills. And I know that had I stayed there in Columbia, it would have never had pushed me out of my comfort zone. It would have never had subjected me to all that online criticism by the masses that really broke my ego down to a pulp. I mean, beat it to a pulp to the point where I was defenseless.
Yeah.
But through that, I finally said, okay, hey, maybe I need to look inward now. But I needed all of that external pressure to finally look inward. Because had I not experienced that, I would have always just kind of pointed the finger and blamed everybody else. So I am 100% the person that I am because of The Bachelor, and I would do it 1,000 times over.
Personal question. Can I ask them?
Yeah. Launch them out, man.
Is it necessary to go down or downhill to get that leap up?
I knew you were going to ask a great question. See, this is why you're the man. And AD asks good questions like this all the time. All right. And this is why we're going to have a very intimate discussion at some point with your journey, because you're just so cerebral, man. I love that question because I just put it on my yesterday on my Instagram. I said, valleys give you a greater appreciation of the peaks in life. And if we always were at a peak state, then we would start taking it for granted.
Yeah.
Think about anything in your life. For example, I'll never forget. We got a pool when I was a kid. My parents installed an in-ground pool in our house, and we were pumped for 2 weeks, swam in it every day, and then we instantly took it for granted. After 2 weeks, whatever, I don't want to swim in it. My parents were like, you have this pool, why are you not swimming in it? Because the excitement started to wear off. It's like, well, we have this here every day. I'm experiencing this peak moment of jumping in the pool, but now it's not as cool as what it once was. It's like if you get to a mountaintop and you look at the view, it's breathtaking in that first instant. But if I tell you now that to look at it for 5 hours, probably on the 5th hour or even before that, you're going to start being like, okay, how much longer do I have to sit here and stare at this view? Right? We as humans, we begin to lose an appreciation for these high points. But I think that's where the valleys come in handy, because when you're at your absolute lowest point, you tell yourself, I don't want to ever see myself back here. And so you climb your way and claw and you dig and you just keep one step in front of the next, and you keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And then all of a sudden one day you hit that mountaintop and you look out and you go, that's a beautiful view. But then what you also do is you look down and you go, look at how far I came.
Yeah.
Right. And how proud am I to have traversed that treacherous terrain to make it all the way up here? Like, man, that required a tremendous amount of physical exertion to climb this mountain, right? So you get just as much value in looking out as you do looking down, or in this case, maybe back at the path that you climbed up. So I think it's absolutely essential. And if you can keep that silver lining mindset that I need the valleys to appreciate the peaks, then when you fall into the valleys, you go, okay, what am I going to glean from this experience?
Exactly.
What kind of adversity am I going to face that's going to shape me into becoming a more resilient, more confident, more passionate individual that ultimately is going to benefit everyone outside of me as well, as I climb this mountaintop and show everybody else that I did it as well, right? Maybe you're the motivation for someone else to go, well, look how far he climbed, so it gives me hope that I can do it too. So yeah, valleys, low points, they are absolutely essential for growth. And that's where typically I found the most growth occurs.
So embrace the valleys.
Yes.
Perfect.
Love that question, man.
Of course. How's the rental property going?
Rental property is doing okay. It really depends on the market that you're in. Scottsdale's a saturated market. So in order for you to succeed in a saturated market, you have to have every bell and whistle in that particular category that you find yourself in. So for me, I'm not in like the luxury sector. There's luxury homes that charge 4 times what I charge, but they have 4 times the amount of value. I mean, they have a pickleball court, they have a basketball court, they have a pool, they have, a beach volleyball area. I mean, I've seen some of these homes in Scottsdale are ridiculous, right? I can't compete with them. So you have to figure out first what tier you want to be within, and then you got to be at the top of it. My home right now is in the top 1% as far as in that category that it's in, which is like mid luxury or low luxury. I don't know what you exactly would call it.
Yeah.
But it's in the top 1% because it has every single thing that it needs to succeed at that price point, right? If I increase my price point, I would now start competing against homes that have, more bells and whistles, and I would, instantly have less bookings, right? So you have to, figure out where your home sets within what category, what range, and then you got to basically maximize the value of that home. And in order to really have a successful cash flowing property, I found that typically you want to have an interest rate below 7% if you're putting down 25% for it to cash flow. I mean, you got to have at least 75 to 80% occupancy.
Got it.
So these are all numbers, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to like talk to someone that wanted to invest and have a rental property, I would say, hey, listen, like, we got to know how much money you're going to put down, how much money you're going to put into the house, because I put in, a lot of money into renovating the backyard. So the numbers, I would say that, the numbers have to make sense, right? If you pay for it in cash is king. And now, let's figure out, what price point you want to operate within.
Yeah. And
then we can look at, what's your projected income per month, right? So how much are you wanting to cash flow? If you pay off an Airbnb though, man, you can cash flow $8,000 net, 8 to 10,000 out here in this market easily for where my home is at. I could, but I have a mortgage, so I can't cash flow that amount, but it's doing well. It's certainly an experience, but you also have to be very, very patient, and also you have to be not bothered by your guests that do a lot of crazy stuff. So can't let that bother you.
This one is my special as well. Do you use faith to help with mental issues?
Faith?
Oh,
faith.
With mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Where I believe in God, I believe that, there certainly is a higher power out there. And I say that for anybody that, across all religions, everyone believes in this higher power, right? I think the importance of that is that when you believe in a higher power, when there's moments where you feel like I can't do this myself, you have that belief that there's something bigger than you that's going to carry you through. And one of the sayings I love is that, God wouldn't take you to it if he wouldn't take you through it. Right. And so I believe that when I'm faced at a point where my back's against the wall, where I'm knocked down and I feel like, man, I got no fight left in me, I told myself many times, like, God would not take me here if he wouldn't take me through it, right? He's taking me here because I possess the resiliency to make it through. And so that allowed me to stand back up and say, all right, like, God, maybe I need you to carry me right now. I loved, it was Tyler did a podcast with Manti Te'o.
Exactly.
And he talked about this part where there was footprints in the sand, and there was 2 sets of footprints. And then at one point, the footprints vanished, and there was only one set of footprints. And, and that's where he said, God, why would you abandon me? Your footprints left me, and it was just me all alone that entire time. And he said, no, at that point, when there was one set of footprints, I was carrying you. I thought that was incredible. And I think that's so powerful. If you have that belief that, God is carrying you through the storm, then you're going to just push through and be like, he's got me. Right. And I think there's points in our life where we feel that our back is against the wall and we are defeated and broken down. And everyone's telling you, man, I don't know how you're going to survive this. And when you just believe that there's something way more powerful, all knowing, that's like, hey, I know that he knows I can make it through, then you'll find any which possible way to make it through. Like you'll just keep fighting because you'll believe like he brought me here for a purpose. So I got to just fight my way through it. And you'll take that level of fight and you'll amplify it by 2, 3, 10-fold.
Yeah.
Because you just believe that like you're going to make it through, because he wouldn't have brought you here in the first place.
Exactly.
For you to fail and quit. So yeah, I always lean on that. I just believe that my journey is meant to be observed by many people. Like that's just the way that it is. I believe that I was never meant to just live a normal life.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if that's what I believe and that's my reality, is it true? I mean, I believe it. So really perception is reality, right? So I choose to believe that God has a plan for me, and it's a really unique one. And therefore, anytime I go down a crazy path, I'm like, God, maybe no one's traversed this exact path, but like, I know you got the weed whacker, and he's out there cutting it down with me, and he's like right there behind me. So, faith plays a massive part in my life, man. I mean, without faith, there's probably points where I would have given up.
Amen to that. That's how we first met, actually.
Yeah.
You were in a church. That's where Andy met you.
Oh, yeah.
And she directed you to Tyler's podcast.
Yeah, man. It's so cool how all these things come together. I mean, I don't believe there's any accidents in life.
Exactly.
I think everything is meant to be for a reason.
Yeah.
And so us sitting here as we sit here today, I'm like, I'm meant to be in every single moment of my life, not one step forward in that direction or one step backward. And if you believe that, then every single thing you do has purpose, right? And I love that. That's why my screensaver is everything happens for a reason. But I believe every single thing. It's not like 90% of things happen for a reason. It's every single thing, which means every breath I take, every rep I do in the gym, every phone call I make, every conversation I have in person. If I believe that I'm meant to be in every single moment, then I attribute so much more value to all those moments, and I'm more present with those people and those experiences. And that's ultimately what makes us as valuable and powerful as we can be. Is like, most people lose themselves by losing their presence. So if everyone could just focus on like, this is a really important moment because I'm meant to be here, then you'll attribute more value to that experience instead of questioning like, oh shoot, I got to get to this meeting here in 10 minutes. And I'm not listening to this other person talk, and I might miss out on something important. It's like, just know you're going to make that meeting when you're supposed to. And that's the way I view it. I've never gotten in trouble for being late by 2 minutes. Most times I go into a meeting with the people that I work with. It's like, hey, sorry, and I know when I can be 2 minutes late to a meeting and when I need to be 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Right. That. But I've always found the conversations will naturally kind of end when they're supposed to, when you just let them. Right. So not questioning things so much as just letting yourself flow from one state to the next. And that's why we're here, man. No, it's no accident that I wanted to put my voice out there for the mental health platform. And then I meet Tyler, a month later. Yeah. And then here we are with a mental health podcast that you guys helped me produce.
Exactly.
Not an accident.
Everything happens for a reason.
1,000%,
sure.
Man. 1,000%.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh man. Okay. The first one that came up again, so I'll roll with it. Cause I remember last week or 2 weeks ago, someone asked me this and I had no idea what I was like, I don't even know. I was stuck. I think I would like to have the power to read minds. I also think that would come, that could be destructive because you could start really seeing people for what they are. But that's why I think I would want to be able to read minds. Because instead of all the BS games and people telling you what you want to hear, I could just know the exact truth. But there's a downside to that. Then it takes out all the guesswork. Exactly. If I know exactly what you're thinking, then like there's no unknown
mystery. Yeah.
There's no mystery. And I think that's the exciting part of life as well, is you want to have the unknowns. What am I walking into? I want to see if I have if my intuition's on point where I can capitalize on the situation, or has all the experience that I've went through, like, is it going to be, helpful in this circumstance? And if it is, great, then I can pat myself on the back for having the experience in the first place. If you're all knowing, which is kind of what you'd become, that'd probably be boring.
Boring.
Because
exactly.
I mean, it probably would be, and it all goes back to that. I think any superpower would have a negative side to it.
Truly.
I mean, if you could say like, oh, I would like to fly. But then what happens when you can fly? You can get everywhere super quickly, and then everyone has the expectation that you should get there, right? It's like, well, once planes became a thing, everyone's now expected to take business trips across the country, whereas it used to be you could only really go hang out with the people in your hometown.
Yeah.
Right. So now it expands it out to like, well, hey, why can't you get on a flight and go to this business meeting? Because now you have the availability. So if you could fly, people would be like, you have no excuse for not being able to make it out here right now, right? So there's expectations that change as you acquire a different set of skills. So everything comes with a downside, but reading minds would be cool to a degree. Maybe if I could like press a button.
Selective reading mind. That's
mind
good.
reading.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
Wouldn't you press it every time?
You'd have to have some type of restraint, right? It's like too much of
Fire
anything
day.
becomes a bad thing.
Yeah. Fire
right?
day.
Yeah. It's like balance, right? Maybe you have a limit, like I have 5 in a day.
Exactly.
That could be exciting because then you could get like what happens when you press it 4 times in the first hour of the day? And then you're like, oh my gosh, I have 7 meetings later on. Now I have to be strategic about when I press this button.
But also thinking that I'll use it at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, nothing happens.
Yeah. So then what do? You just waste it? Or do you go run outside, you go to a bar somewhere and like
press it all the time?
Yeah. I mean, that could be fun, a limited amount, because in life, again, too much of anything becomes a bad thing. I mean, that's the case with too much oxygen can kill you. Too much water can kill you. If it's pure oxygen, I should say, too much water can. So all these things that, it's like you have to understand, but selective. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty cool.
How did the court turn out with the crazy girl?
So again, depending on when this comes out, right now we're winning, and we're winning big, man. And I say that with full confidence. I genuinely believe this woman is going to face her day in behind bars, and I won't believe anything else. And she deserves it. She deserves to get help, but she won't. So if she's not going to get help, then she deserves to be placed behind bars, and hopefully that'll force her to take accountability. Yeah. And maybe she'll snap out of this headspace she's in, and she'll go seek help. Listen, I want her to seek help at the end of the day, but she's made it very apparent. She just filed for an appeal in court to appeal the whole case. There's nothing stopping her at this point unless somebody intervenes. And if I can't stop her after everything that we've went through and all the people that have helped me online, if we can't stop her and get her held accountable, she'll do it again and again and again. So, but for what it is right now, we're winning, and we're winning big. And I think she realizes that. So she's fighting till the end. And now we just wait. Yeah. See what the county attorney does.
All right. What are some red and green flags for women trying to date men that are working on themselves?
Okay, so when I got this question, I'm understanding as a woman that asked the question wants to know that if a man's working on himself, what are some good and bad things to look for?
Probably, yeah.
I'll start with the red flags. I don't call them red flags. I'll call them beige flags. It's just something to be mindful of, or yellow flags, you could call them. A man that's working on himself is going to be he's going to be prioritizing himself. Therefore, he'll be spending a lot of time on him. And naturally, he's going to have less time to spend on you. So that's a yellow flag per se, because if you're looking for somebody to give you their energy, a lot of that person's energy, depending on how serious they are about self-improvement, is going to be spent investing back in themselves. And so that's something to be mindful of. That can certainly be a yellow flag for somebody, because a lot of us want to feel seen and heard in a relationship. And that's why we want a partner. We want someone to grow with. We want someone to acknowledge us and to be there for us. Right. So someone that's deep into their self-healing state is going to be selfish. And I think selfishness is a good thing. I think we all deserve to be selfish. In fact, no one's going to fight for you harder than you'll fight for yourself. But be understanding of that somebody that's working on self-improvement will be investing a lot of that energy back into themselves. So that would be a yellow flag per se for someone wanting to get into a relationship with that individual. Now, a green flag with somebody working on themselves is that they are open to constructive criticism.
Mm.
They're open to being okay with being wrong.
Yeah.
I find that people that are really self-reflective want to just better understand their environment and the people that are around them. And I think that's a really attractive quality to have because so much of, there's a lot of people that I know that are closed-minded. They're all about right or wrong. There's one way to do it. And if you don't do it, it's wrong. And they'll fight you on it. They'll die on that hill.
Mm.
And what I find is that really introspective people are less likely to die on that hill because ultimately they realize that there's so much gray area that if somebody comes and tells them this is how it is, instead of them going, "Are you kidding me? This is the only way that it is."
Yeah.
They'll go, "Okay, well, why do you say that? How did you get to that headspace?" And they'll try so hard to understand. And that's where I'm at right now. It's like, I want to hear all the different perspectives, right? Gather them all, and then I can take bits and pieces and form my own impression. But what I found is I'm pretty neutral with most things because at the end of the day, if you believe it, if it works for you, then more power to you. I'm not going to stand on this hill and die on it and tell you like, especially politics is a big one. It's like, I don't get into that. I mean, I consider myself apolitical and I say that, proudly. Because and some people will say that like, how, like, I can't believe you don't take a stand on it. Like, you have no, where's your strength in standing for anything? It's like, and I've heard that phrase, if you don't stand for any, something, you'll fall for everything. I think that's also, though, just depends. You don't have to stand for everything.
Mm.
You can choose your battles when you want to stand for something. I'll stand for my family. I'll fight tooth and nail to protect them, physically and mentally, and the people that I love. I mean, I'll stand on that hill and die any day on that hill to vouch for a friend if someone's bad mouthing them. But like some of these other things, it's like, I'll listen to your side of things and I'll try to understand, but I don't like this whole boxing in mentality of like, you got to choose this side, left or right. Life is not that way. So, yeah, I'm a big believer, and I think it's a green flag with a person that has the mindset of self-improvement is like they're really trying to understand more than be right or wrong.
Yeah.
And that means they're more accepting as a human being, in my opinion. So super green flag for that one.
One follow-up question here. The yellow flag, can it turn into green or red over time?
Can go either way. Yep.
It can go either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think somebody that's focused on themselves, if they feel that someone comes into their life and they want a relationship, but they don't, their subconscious is like, they don't realize they're not ready. That person comes in and then starts saying, can we do date night? Can we go to this? Can we do this? And what can happen is if someone's not in a place where they're ready to devote energy into someone else and like, no, I need more time to myself, they may start, drawing a divide and pushing back on that person. I can't tonight. I can't. I'm going to this, I'm going to my therapy session or I'm going to this, men's group, or I'm going to do breath work. And it's like, those aren't necessarily bad things, but for a partner, they might be like, well, I don't feel like we've had any time this week. And it's like, then that person might respond back and go, I'm working on myself so I can be better for you, right? Like that's where and they may mean well by that. But if somebody hasn't gotten to that place yet where they're like, okay, I've done enough self-work, I'm ready to bring somebody else in, and they've made that decision to get to that place, if they feel that someone's just come in and they try to rush into the relationship and they're like, I want this, but they're not fully healed yet from their past, they may start to resent the individual that starts to pull their energy away because naturally they deserve that energy. But they might not be ready to like actually be giving energy to someone else. And now, but they're like, but this person seems great. They're in my life. So I'm going to try to make this work while I'm still doing my healing process. And what may happen is they may start expending energy out this way and putting energy back into themselves. Yeah. And they're basically emptying their cup. Wow. And now they're worn out. And they don't have enough. They're like, dude, I'm so wiped and I just need some time to like rejuvenate and to renew my energy. But then that person comes in like, what do you want to do today? And they're excited to like spend time with you. And you're like, I don't have time. Right. So like it can be a red flag if somebody hasn't fully healed yet. But it can also be a green flag where they're working on themselves. And as long as that other partner knows where they're at in their journey and they're like, hey, I think this is where communication is massive. You say, hey, where I'm at currently is like, I feel like I'm almost there. I'm 85% of the way there. Okay. But here's the things that I do currently in the week, right? So right now for the next 6 months, like I'm going to go to therapy, I'm busy through this time. Here's my schedule. is this going to be okay? Like, I'm really leaning into myself. Are you okay right now with me pouring into myself? And what does it look like for me to be able to pour into you to still have a healthy dynamic, right? So this is where the conversation, and I love this. I'm going to do this in my next relationship. I heard this. Somebody said, a lot of times we will address something that upsets us that someone else did. Maybe not in the moment that they do it, but we'll address it later on in a moment where they make us emotional again. And it's like, so an argument. So say somebody says in front of like your friends, like they make a joke and they embarrass you in front of your friends. We may keep quiet in that instant. And then we'll say, oh, I'll just bring it up to her later and tell her how I didn't like how she made that joke. It embarrassed me. But we don't typically ever bring it up then in a happy moment later on, because like when we're happy, we just enjoy that moment. So what happens is we get into a fight with them, and then whenever emotions are high, we feel embarrassed, or we feel angry again or upset, and then we remember how they made us feel upset the last time, and then we go, oh, by the way, you know what I didn't like? What you did a week ago when you brought this up in front of my friends. And then what happens? Now all of a sudden the conversation, this argument starts from point A, and now you're fighting point B, and then they'll go, well, you know, I didn't like when you did this 3 days later after that. So now you're arguing all these different things, and you're trying to. You can never resolve the situation when you start at point A and then you start fighting on point B, point C, and point. And I've seen this in my previous relationships. Where before you know it, you're all the way on point F or Z, and you've just brought up all these things that you don't like that the other person has done, and then you start thinking, we have all these issues. Maybe we're not meant to be, right? So now it's like, look at all the issues we have. So what I love that somebody brought up to me or in a podcast or heard it somewhere was, if somebody upsets you, take a mental note of it, write it down in a journal. And then when you're in a really great spot, set some time aside with your partner, maybe once a week on like a Sunday to do a check-in with them where you say, hey, okay, I wrote down some things this week. You wrote down some things this week. Let's come into this safe space and understand that we're going to bring up some things that bothered us from the prior week, but we're in a good headspace right now. And let's understand that we're doing this because we love one another and we want to make this work. So you basically set the boundaries. Is like, we're doing this because we love one another. Now let's work through the things that upset us in this past week. So you already walk into that experience in a understanding mindset that, hey, I'm going to be open because now this is a time for us to basically build our relationship and work through some of the things that, that maybe upset us in this past week. So I love the weekly check-in idea, and also doing it when you're in a really good headspace. So that way, if you have every Sunday at 12 p.m., you're going to have this conversation, but you end up having a really stressful day at work that day. Maybe you say, hey, I'm not in a good headspace, and I'm probably not going to be good with being able to have this conversation and be able to be constructively criticized, or work on this connection. So can we do this at another point? But I think having that check-in is such an awesome idea. It's like proactive therapy, basically. It's like getting ahead of problems before they exist.
How did you get into dancing? What inspired you specifically?
Yeah. So this one's fun. During COVID, I had way too much time on my hands. And so I always wanted to dance. I grew up, we had, it's called You Got Served. It was a movie that we had on DVD, and me and my brothers would play it. And then we would, at the end, there was this final dance battle, and we would dance at the end along with the final dance battle. I remember it being one of my fondest memories, me and my brothers dancing in the basement to the finale for You Got Served. And so I always wanted to dance, but then I was always fearful of judgment from others. And so I would dance out in public a little bit, but I can remember there was instances where I still remember the faces of the people where they'd see me dancing, they'd give me this look, and I'd instantly stop. And that happened about 2 times, and that stopped me from ever dancing out in public ever again. I can remember both of those instances where that occurred, where someone gave me this side eye, that looks terrible. And maybe that's not even why they were looking at me for that reason, but I assumed they were judging my dancing ability or lack of. So I stopped. And then COVID hit, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do a dance class, but I'm going to do one online so nobody can see me dancing. I'll try to teach myself. And after 2 weeks, I couldn't do it because it was so hard to teach myself. It's way easier to have an instructor that can stop you right there and correct you. But what inspired me was actually, there was this online dance coach, and he had a 52-year-old guy that started dancing around 51 years old. And it was a testimonial. And he said he had his video of him the first day that he started dancing. versus then a year later, how well he was dancing, or maybe it was a couple years later. And I saw the progress, and that is what made me realize, like, I can do this. This guy's 52 years old, and he started dancing, back when he was 50 or 51, and look how good he's gotten. It's never too late. And so I thought, well, man, if he can do it, then I can. So that video is what gave me the confidence to believe I had it in me. And then that's what pushed me then after the show, I came off the show and I was like, man, I want to just live a life for myself now. I want to stop living for others and just live for me. So what would that life look like? And it's like, well, dancing would be part of it. I would start dancing, because the only reason I'm not doing it is because I don't want people to judge me. So yeah, once I got over that fear of judgment, dancing was inevitable.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the most serious question in the questions.
Okay. Ooh, spicy. All right.
Will you shave the stash?
I am not shaving this thing, man, because I don't know what it is. Somebody can help me understand this, but something about having a stash and no like facial hair on the side, it feels powerful. I don't know. It kind of feels dirty, but it feels like, I don't know what it is, man. It feels powerful. When I look in the mirror, I'm like, yeah. And some people are like, oh, it looks like a porn stash or something. And I don't even know. I mean, it's funny, but like, it seems to be like polarizing. Either people really like the mustache or they don't. And I think that's why I like it so much, though, is because everybody has an opinion on it more so than, like, you have facial hair, people don't say much. But when you just have a stash only, you'll get people, and I get them, like, since I've been posting videos, people are like, shave your stash. And I love the fact that it's so polarizing, because it's like, I like that. I like different, right? I like something that gets a reaction, you know? And so maybe that's why. Maybe I just like to, to just do the things that most people don't like. Cause I'm like, no, this is what makes me uniquely me. Clayton's the guy with the freaking porn stash or whatever, So no, I'm not shaving it, man. In fact, I'll keep baby facing it on the side here for a while. I haven't let it grow in too much today. But no, you're stuck with the stash for some time. I like it. And with the mullet. Mustache mullet combo is like double dangerous.
Who is the girl in your Mary Ruth's ad?
It was just a friend of mine. Yeah.
Okay.
I could say, because I was doing it because people, people like to know what's going on in my life from a relationship standpoint, because that's, what they got to know me for in the first place, is me dating on reality television. So there's a vested interest in, I guess, my dating life. With that being said, I like to have fun with it sometimes, so I was kind of teasing, like, oh, Clayton might be with somebody, he may not, just because it's not too serious. I don't take myself too seriously, but that was a friend of mine. But yeah, just a friend.
So the audience won't get the name.
I won't be giving out any names. No, just out of respect for that individual. They
Perfect.
Don't need to be tied with me in case they're happening to be talking to somebody right now and they're like, what? You're just in these videos and it looks like this. Of course, it looks like that. We're all I'm having fun with it. But
dude, you're a great individual. You're caring about that other person and their dating life as well. So that just tells about you so much.
Yeah, I think you're giving me too much credit here, but I try to be thoughtful of, again, of all the experiences I've been through, I needed to look outwardly as much as I was looking inwardly, and realize that, yeah, I'm trying to better myself, but I also have to be mindful of how that's impacting people outside of me.
Exactly.
So even if I'm doing something fun like that, I have to be aware that, hey, is this person, do they want their name to be out there? Do they want their face to be out there? I mean, maybe not, right? When you subject yourself to a spotlight, there's a lot that comes with it, man. Yeah. There's a lot that comes with it. People feel like they can DM you about anything. Why'd you wear that? Why, you look fat. It's like, you'll be surprised what people say in your DMs where you're just like, really? You just nonchalant wanted to come in here and be like, you shouldn't wear that shirt again. It looked like you had man boobs. I'm like, thanks. Like, I mean, it's a good thing that I'm confident in the way my body looks, because like you could have just derailed my entire day if I had no confidence and you said that. I don't know, man. Some people are just, wild.
Ever thought of trying Zumba?
I've done Zumba before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I don't do Zumba because I'm still not where I want to be. I'm my own biggest critic, and I'm not where I want to be from a dancing standpoint yet. So when I go into Zumba classes, they teach moves that I can't pick up quickly, and my ego gets in the way because my ego wants me to be the best dancer in the room because I'm like, hey, I'm the one that's dancing 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So if I come into the Zumba class, I better look like I'm the guy that dances 4 times a week versus the person that just walks in here once a week. So that's an ego thing. And that's stopped me from doing more like events where there's dancing involved. I actually even walked out on a Lululemon event because it was a dancing event and it was meant to just like move your body and stuff. But the instructors were so good. But I became so self-conscious because, again, my brain was playing tricks on me. But my brain was like, some of these people here in this audience know who you are. They're going to look back and see that you're not even as good as you look as you look online. When you post videos, they're going to know you're a fraud. Yeah. That's what the brain does, man. And so I literally walked out of that experience. I walked out 10 minutes in because I was so uncomfortable because my ego was just telling me like everyone's looking at you right now. And nobody was, man. Nobody is. And if they were, who cares? Like, but I cared, you know? So that's still something I'm working on is like, I expect a lot out of myself. And if I'm taking dance classes 4 times a week, I expect to have it look that way.
Be the best at it.
It shouldn't matter, but I'm human. And my ego still sometimes overtakes me and says, oh, you should be better. And everyone else is thinking that. So don't expose yourself, right? Fake it till you make it. Don't show them that it's not real.
Yeah.
Again, it shouldn't matter, but here I am still trying to work through those things.
Wow. When would you be ready for a serious relationship?
I just recently made it my mission to date with intention. I was kind of just going like willy-nilly with it prior. I was like, oh, I'll just like, whatever comes my way, I'll just let it come my way. If it's something casual, it's casual. If it's, like I'll just let it all play out. That wasn't serving me. It was bringing a lot of energy my way that was only hurting me. Mm-hmm. So now I'm putting myself in a position and holding myself accountable by not only saying it into this mic right now, but telling my friends and family around me that, hey, I'm serious. I'm going to start only interacting with women that I see a potential of there being something more there. If I can't see myself dating them, then like I'm not going to go out on a date with them, just for the sake of it. Oh, I want to have, I don't have anything to do tonight, so I'll go out and get drinks with this person, right? And also being mature enough to say too, hey, make sure I'm going on a date with them for the purpose of, yes, I can see them as being a potential future partner.
Yeah.
If they give me, give off an energy that where it's like, no, there's nothing more here than this could just be a fun night. No, then if it's just physical or whatever, no, like I'm telling myself right now, I need to cut that out completely. It doesn't serve me. It's only hurting me at this point. So I would say I'm almost near ready to be in a serious relationship, but I also need to prove it to myself that I can hold this mindset for at least a month or two. So now I'm in this prove it stage where it's like, all right, Clayton, prove it, be serious and hold this, and see if actually you really mean it.
If you could change one thing in the world right now, what would that be and why?
I would force people. Well, I would make it mandatory. I don't like the word force. I would make it mandatory, which is, I guess, the same outcome. Mandatory for people to be curious. I have an ex-girlfriend that her dad, his saying was, don't judge, be curious. And I was not mentally mature enough to understand the value in that phrase until recently. That if everybody had curiosity and was just open to exploring another option outside of their safe little, box that they've created for themselves, if people had to be curious, they would open up their minds to other possibilities. And what they would find is that there is a lot of connection that can be created beyond the box that you're within. I connect with so many different people from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. You look at my friends now and I joke around, but it's like a hodgepodge of people. I mean, you'd put us all in a room and you'd say, where's the commonality? You can't see it physically. The commonality is here. And that's what's so awesome is, I would be so proud to put all my closest friends in a room, and I would love for people to look at that and go, where's they wouldn't be able to find it. They wouldn't be able to see it. but they would start to feel it.
Mm.
As each of those individuals started talking, they'd go, oh, wow, I can feel the energy. Oh, I can see that you guys connected on a low point. You guys connected over mental health. You guys connected on a valley moment, sharing struggles, and how you connected on depression or anxiety, or, connected on resiliency, right? Like, all of us as humans possess each of those things. I can point at anybody out there, and every person, if I point out, it doesn't matter who I point at, someone's felt sadness 100% of the time, right? There's not a single person on this planet that has not felt sadness.
Yeah.
But have you shared that with somebody? Have you connected with somebody through sadness? Many people don't, because they're fearful of judgment, right? But when you open yourself up to, like, what if there is more beyond what the eye sees? What if I'm open to having a conversation with someone that looks nothing like me? This is where ignorance plays a major part. There's so much discrimination and stereotyping and racism. I think it's ridiculous. How can you think that you're better than somebody because of the color of your skin, right? There's people that still feel that way, that because they didn't even do anything for that. They were born into that skin color, and you think you're better than somebody because you were born into it. You didn't do anything for it. And it blows my mind, but there's that, but like, that's the thing, is if those individuals just had a spark of curiosity, what if I have something in common with them? What if I did? Would you at least give them more of a chance to be heard if you felt like there was something that you guys could relate to? Absolutely. We all naturally are attracted to people that we relate to. And a lot of us don't realize it, but we don't possess the mental fortitude or the depth to go deep past like what we see.
Yeah.
So we connect with someone based on their skin color, or based on their gender, or based on the fact that they have a similar hobby to us, right? But when you start to realize that you can connect with people that don't have any of those things in common, and it's just like you connect with them on a wavelength and on an energy, and like connect with them on a life experience that brought you to a place of depression, and they were depressed, but they had a completely different experience. Like I connect with people that were hard into drugs. I've never been addicted to drugs, but we can both connect on how we hit a low point, where we felt like life wasn't worth living, and we had this ideation of maybe I should just give up, and we connect on that. Two people from completely opposite ends, but seemingly so close together, right? Because we're not as far apart as we realize as humans. We all are happy. We all feel sadness. We all feel depression. We all feel anxiety. I just talk about it. And yeah, unfortunately, people look at what you talk about and they push you away. They go, oh, that's weakness. It's not weakness. But I'm pushing the wrong people away. I absolutely am.
Yeah.
I've seen my DMs dry up because certain women see me talking about mental health issues, and they're like, oh, this guy doesn't have it figured out. I want stability. This guy has none of it. And I'm like, you realize that man that you're going after is feeling all these same things. He's just not talking about it. Right. But we're getting more and more men to open up, and more people in general. And so, man, if people were just curious, if they just opened up their ears too, more than their mouths, and just started listening to what was around them, they'd realize that like, wait, actually I have a whole lot more in common with my environment, and I'm way less alone.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're less alone than you realize. But I mean, because most people aren't taking the time to shut down the distractions of their phone and their brains, and like sit and then like look at the person across the table and have a conversation, because we did that the first time that we sat down here. You and I, right here, before I even did a podcast, you and I sat down here and I got to know you. And like I said, I wish it was recorded because it was just real. And after that conversation, you and I both walked out of there and said, dude, I feel like I know you so much better. And like, we became so close.
Exactly.
Off of that initial hour-long conversation.
Yeah.
Because having these conversations, I can get closer with people in 1 hour than I used to be able to get with people over years of my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the superficial stuff doesn't bring you closer.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you know when my birthday is, you know how old I am, you know what my favorite color is, you know what my hobby is, that doesn't bring you any closer to me. I don't let you in.
Yeah.
Because that's easy to know all that stuff. If I'm having a deep discussion about insecurities, if I'm having a conversation with you about that, you're already in. You're already in my circle, right? Because I'm very selective of who I have those conversations with, right? So that's where people just need to understand, like, if you feel alone, like, you got to go deeper, right? You got to like open up your mind and like step out into that place of discomfort and unknown, because there's a lot of connection outside of it to be made, but you got to take the step. So long-winded answer, but aren't all my answers. That's me though. This was great for now, man. I'm super grateful. Again, AD, I'll have you in here sharing your story when you know the time is right, because
Of
I know you
course.
and I both know that like it's just going to happen when it's supposed to. But thank you all to those that asked the questions. We got through, I think, 1/8 of the list. So we'll have plenty more, and certainly I'll put out I'll put out another video at some point asking for more questions. Hope this was helpful. Hope you guys got to know me more, maybe also know a little bit more about yourself. So thank you for listening.